We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to just a catch-up session. We're not doing digging deeper today. We don't have a guest on with Red Cloud, but we want to take the opportunity just to reach out to everyone, remind them about the market, what we do here. We try to keep up with general important news that goes on out there that might affect the market, but also our positions that we feel strongly about. And just, often I find people forget why they bought a stock. Like, everyone buys it because they want it to go up. They want to make money. But a lot of our ones that we like, we're in them for very long periods of time. And it never hurts to reach out. We get the chance to talk to a lot of people at different companies to kind of go over why are we in this again, and to reaffirm to people that there's a long play, real companies, and they're doing some important work, whether it's in the environment or changing this energy shift. So we wanted to kind of have a show to update a couple of those companies.
Yeah, and it's perfect timing with our newsletter coming out this afternoon, actually. So if you're not signed up to our mailing list, make sure you're on there. You're going to get it emailed right to you this afternoon. So we figured we'd recap a couple of those companies, touch on a little bit of news stuff, and obviously we're not going to have a show on Friday as well because it's Remembrance Day here in Canada. So it was a good opportunity for us to just get on and do our normal thing, Andrew.
Yes, and I'll just get it out of the way too, because I want to jump into some of these other companies. But I think Goliath, we're not traders. We always say that, but I think keep your eye on Goliath. They have another 43 holes to come out. I don't know when those are coming out, but I'm suspecting, and I think it's pretty safe to say Dr. Quinton Henning will be doing their Crestcat show on Friday. I think it comes out around 10 or 11 Pacific time. I could be wrong. But I suspect we might see once people really understand his explanation as to what he sees from this data, because we went over it a little bit on Monday, and I'm certainly not well versed enough to tell you what was enough in there. I know enough to know it was a very good press release, but the amount of data and the 3D modeling and all that, it'll be very, very interesting to listen to Dr. Quinton Henning going through that and explaining from his perspective what he sees.
Yeah, and they've already had fantastic results, so it's going to be great to listen to him and obviously with all of his expertise kind of highlight that for the kind of average person like me who doesn't fully understand what all those numbers mean. But Goliath had a great run over the last month as well, like up nearly 50% from where it was last month. So a really great run, obviously a company that we've been big fans of for a long time. So it's great to see them getting those results and with the size and the scale of what they do have, it's very, very encouraging.
It definitely is. It always kind of, it's very exciting. I'll just put it at that. I don't want to get too much because I might sound too promotional, but this is developing at a very good rate. And the more eyes that get on it, the better. Let's just leave it at that. But it's important too, because a lot of people don't they think, oh, gold, we've got crypto, we've got all these other assets. It's like, well, do you? A lot of this crypto has been absolutely destroyed. It was it FTX or the X? What's that coin that just got decimated?
FXT or something like that.
Yeah, Blankfein, that young gentleman, Blankfein, or Blankman Freeman or whatever his name. I'm terrible at the name, but he just lost.
So
they just lost like 16 billion or something like that.
It's a lot.
So it's that whole sector is falling apart. You'll still have, of course, I think Ethereum and Bitcoin will always have a place, but it isn't what people thought it was going to be. And we're really seeing when we're talking about BRICS, when we're talking about these other countries that are making a move against the US dollar being the hegemony, they're backed by commodities. And they've been buying gold for years and years and years. What's interesting is they're trying to dissuade people from buying gold. And part of me thinks, maybe it's not a bad idea. Because you're still, when you have it, you're outside the system. You're fighting inflation with it. Now the gold prices come back down a bit, but I there's lots of value, and that's why we like to talk about not necessarily the producers right now, but there's an opportunity with Goliath where they're on target. They're doing some good work. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap that up. Another one that we wanted to talk on because it's a very interesting one is Versus.
Yes.
And I know
Yeah.
there are people who have followed us have obviously heard of Versus, heard us talk about it before. But what are your thoughts on Versus kind of as they wrap up the year and move into next year, Andrew?
This is my 2 cents. I think that they are like a dark horse. They could revolutionize the internet as we know it, and that's making a huge claim. Right now, I think because they're part of the spatial web, that they get thrown into the metaverse. So the meta Facebook thing, which they're not. That's not what they do. But I think that because it's tech and because it's very future forward, people aren't as interested. People right now are looking at staples. I mean, if you look, a lot of people are recommending, Johnson and Johnson industrials, things that you need, even like, well, and it'll segue a little bit when we talk about progressive. I mean, fertilizers, cat litter, I mean, things like that, where it's like things that are recession proof, salt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the things that you just have to buy regardless, for industry, for chemical companies, for all these things. People are more interested right now in that than looking too far forward. But that being said, the best time to make money is when things are like this. And, it's to sit on the sidelines. And we're not trying to time markets. I'm not trying to do that. There's a time to do that. And there's a time to start thinking, listen, there's some real opportunities out there between, DME versus progressive. Like there's stocks that are pretty cheap right now and have the potential to have asymmetric gains. And I believe that Versus will have some news in the next couple months. As far as I remember, their timeline for a milestone was to have some maybe new contracts by Christmas, January 1st. So we're not that far off. I mean, we're middle of November right now, which is hard to imagine. But so they're going to have some news, and they've gotten beaten up because of the sector, because there hasn't been a lot of news flow. And quite frankly, I mean, not a lot of people want to hear about, AR, VR, and this new spatial web. A lot of people don't want to hear about it because they once again put it in that metaverse content that it's not. I think there's an opportunity here with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. How, like if you think back to, 12 months ago, when obviously, like in our situation, we could kind of see the writing was on the wall that, hey, inflation's going to be a problem and yada. But for the average person, it wasn't really on their mind as much 12 months ago as it is now. And they were much more open to having the conversations about, oh, let's hang out in the metaverse. Oh, let's buy NFTs. Oh, let's do this. All this kind of fun, happy stuff. And now that it's kind of serious business again, it's like, oh, okay, we got to go back to tangible, real businesses. That's what I like about kind of all the ones that you mentioned, Versus, DME, and Progressive, is they all have these, like you said, recession-proof business plans, but also they all have a blue sky play and a big potential, really cool, exciting aspect of the story as well. That is obviously what gets us interested and motivated about it.
Yeah, and with Versus, it's their Wayfinder app, their technology working with we call it supply chain and with inventory and warehouses. I mean, like if they can put this together, they're showing 30% efficiencies in warehouses. I'll have to look at the number, but just think how many warehouses there are out there. And if you're able to have a 30% efficiency, that's pretty massive. So that is the not glamorous pie in the sky, spatial web, exciting type of things that's when a frothy economy where tech wants to talk about. But that's where this company is very interesting, is that if they're able to close some contracts in that space, that bare bones supply chain, warehousing, logistics factor, that's a lot of money. That's a huge space in and of itself. And that's what we like about it. It's that mix of, here's the bare bones that you need to solve right now, and that they have a chance to. They're already in, I think it's 5 or 6 big Fortune 500 companies. That's what, when they first came out, they said, we're in. We can't name who they are, but you know them. So if that comes to fruition as a milestone, there's definitely a lift there. And just take out the whole blue sky of where this could go, because that can be almost overwhelming. Just that business alone is significant. So, and I'll be also, we went into the last financing, so we're down on it. So everyone knows we're not trying to pump it or pitch it or anything like that. We believe in it. We think that this is a huge one, has massive potential, and it's really unloved, and that's fine. But it has that mix, like you're saying, of the fundamental recession-proof business that could hopefully revolutionize the way that we do some logistics here, but also this huge upside of the spatial web and whatnot.
Yeah, and everything that entails, and all kind of the really cool, exciting, interesting direction that you can take that. Another one that I know you wanted to touch on, which I mean, for anyone who's been following our newsletters, DME is always in there. DME is always one of the first companies that we list. What are your thoughts on DME as they wrap up the year, and what are you looking forward to with them moving into next year?
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's I guess the highlight of the opening whenever I was speaking about. This is a company that we're 100% believers in. I've never sold a share. I won't. We still are strong believers in it. Has it taken longer for the parts and for getting this plant up? Yeah. Does that piss people off? Sure. I'm not a patient guy by nature, but I'm an absolute believer. And I think we're going to see, hopefully by Christmas, the plant will be up and running and it'll be testing and whatnot. I hope that's coming soon. And we've been saying that for a little while. But once again, there's so much work leading up to this that's been done. To me, it's just having the conversation with people and reaffirming to people, this is why we're in this thing. If it's another month, if it's another 6 weeks of getting the plant up to spec or this or that, is that really the end of the world? It's not. It feels like it is, and it's a pain because there's so much other negative news out there, and we're kind of like, come on, get going. But really, at the end of the day, this is a long hold for us. We see a huge future with this. And as a kind of a side note, which is more of an interesting thing too, as well, as they are going to be on a show called Viewpoints, and it's with Dennis Quaid. It's a PBS show. I think it's in between Nova and Masterpiece Theater. I love Nova, by the way. I mean, those shows they're really well done. And this Viewpoint, if you go to viewpointproject.com, they've highlighted some very, very cool companies and what they're up to. Like they've done one on Southwest Airlines, on Godiva Chocolates. I think they did one on Clemson University. They highlight U.S.-based companies that are really revolutionizing or doing something very, very unique and interesting, like future forward and future leaning. And they're going to highlight Desert Mountain Energy. That's huge because you have to remember Desert Mountain Energy, they drill. Like they're not oil and gas company, but they drill, and they're going to be on PBS, which is as far left as one can get. And it's an educational piece, and it's going to talk about how they're doing it, because they're doing it with ESG. They're with a lot of these principles. They're doing it with the environment in focus, not just on paper. And they're going to be able to get this critical helium, which is absolutely needed. It's a critical gas. And we've gone through that a lot. We still have our helium report if you want to get it off our website. And on top of that, I mean, as a behind the scenes, we know they've got a hydrogen field. And that kind of segues us into a little bit of news we have in regards to hydrogen as well. So they're sitting pretty. This is great. It's just a matter of when. And once again, I don't even want to say we have to be patient. It's a terrible thing to say to someone to be patient, but there's ups and downs with anything. We're in stocks for a long time. Like if we're in it, and we make no bones about some of them we don't tell people you have to subscribe, but ones where we're like very vocal, but because I feel like we're going to be like long term, this is going to be a big win for us. It's going to be one of those ones that I think, because we've spoken so loudly about it, we're going to see some success soon. And once again, it doesn't have to be that the market price is. Are they hitting milestones? Are they doing the work that they're going to do? Are they getting the results? The markets will come. We're going through a lot of chaos right now. Markets will come.
Well, that's it's the mindset aspect of what we talk about, and it trust me, it can be very difficult when you're in an economic situation like we are now. And I know we'll probably wrap up this conversation today by talking a little bit about the election in the U.S. And I think a lot of people who are heavily invested in the stock market were hoping for a bit more of a red wave than what they got, because there could have been a bit of a turnaround maybe off the back of that. But it's difficult when you're looking at everything you see and it's like, oh, everything's down, and you've got something like a Desert Mountain where you're like, I know this is going to be really good. Why is it taking so long? Oh, this is so frustrating. So it's easy to get caught up in that. That's why you have to remind yourself of those fundamentals. Are they hitting milestones? Is the management team doing what they promised? Do they have a plan? Are they on track? And as far as all those boxes, Desert Mountain ticks every one of them. But I will quickly jump on. You mentioned a little segue into some hydrogen news. Alberta, massive investment in their hydrogen sector. That's all. I mean, I'm in Alberta, as everyone knows. Love that. The more jobs and diversifying the economy that you can do in Alberta is the more I love to see it. So huge new. I think it's a $1.6 billion facility that they're going to be building.
Yeah,
it's a massive investment.
Yeah, so that alone, I think the government is putting 161 million grant over 3 years to Alberta Petrochemicals Incentive Program. This is huge. I mean, it ties into like Desert Mountain with their hydrogen field. It's excellent for Alberta. We talk about DLE. We look at the lithium coming out. I also today, I mean, and we won't talk about it, but another update from Lithium Bank on their Saskatchewan property with their brines. It's setting itself up. And I have to say it again. We're still going to need natural gas. We're going to need it for decades. We're still going to need oil for decades. It has the chance of really being a powerhouse of future legacy and today energy. I mean, and it's excellent to see the hydrogen, the lithium, all these things coming together.
Yeah, and it's another one of those where we give props to a government when they're doing good things and we harp on them when they're doing bad things. Yep. I've had a lot of problems with the Alberta government, the way they've handled things over the last decade. It's various governments. We've had NDP, we've had Conservatives throughout that time. They've all made some terrible decisions, but this is a great move by the Alberta government in investing in our resource sector. And even though it's a little different than the normal expectation of the resource sector.
Yeah, and we'll jump off here too, because I love infrastructure. I talk about stuff, and we do like a lot of these green plays. And if you read some of the McKinsey or Accenture or Bain, some of their like decarbonizing reports on infrastructure, to give you a sense of that they're saying that moving the needle to net zero. This is from McKinsey. Our research shows that the world will need to invest $9.2 trillion each year until 2050. That's a quote. This is not like this is from the Globe, from McKinsey. So Now, why does that matter? I mean, that's all, your copper, your graphite, all those mining things, but also cement.
Yes, and that's a perfect segue to the last company that we wanted to
Progressive Planet.
A new one in our newsletter. One of the few new companies that we haven't talked about, at least in the newsletter, before. So, I mean, your thoughts and feelings on Progressive Planet. What gets you? Why are you so excited about this project?
You know what? I'm going to do a bit of a teaser on this one because I don't want to speak too long. I'll get too carried away. In short, here's a company that has, as a waste product. So their full cycle of life recycling waste product are able, with a company that they're in partnership out of Calgary, to sequester carbon into cement. This is massive. Now, the downside with it is it's a little complicated. So when people have to hear it a few times, they have to kind of go through the graph and go, okay, so you take this, you take that, do this. We've got some videos out already on it. And a lot of people will sit there and go, wait, how is this small little Canadian company able to do this? They're in partnership with the company they're working with. I mean, they are on the list for the X Prize. So this is the real deal. If it was a country, the cement industry would be the number 3 polluter on the planet if you're concerned about carbon emissions. So that number 3. So over all other countries, everything, it's China, it's US. So if you have a solution that you can sequester carbon into cement and make it lighter, that is a big deal. So they're on that journey. It's not BS, it's real. We're very excited about that because that's it. They're a fertilizer company. They're an ag tech company. They have a standard backbone company that's building revenue. So they've got a foundation. This isn't just a technology, women in prayer kind of thing, or wing in a prayer. This is a business stable that has revenues, that has growth. It's doing great, but it has this upside, blue sky, that is huge. And we're just getting into it. I'll leave it at that, but very, very exciting. You can imagine if they're the number 3 emitter, how big is the concrete market? Also, go try getting some concrete right now.
Yeah.
Just do that. Just go look and go try to find some concrete. It's not that easy.
No, it's incredibly difficult. You talk to people in the industry, different producers and stuff. It's very difficult. So if they can continue to expand on what they've already proven that they can do with their partnership with ZS2, the sky is the limit for a company like this with everything that they have the potential to roll out.
And that being said, just before I forget too, they're going to be doing an event here at the end of the month in November in Vancouver. Yes. I'm going to be reaching out to some people to ask if they'd like to come. If you are in Vancouver, if you're a broker or an investor or anything of that nature, reach out to us because we can get you into an event. It's going to be pretty cool. They're going to tell their story because really they're at that stage where they want to get to know. We're going to reach out to people at Mackenzie and Bain. And we're going to say, listen, like, have you looked at what they can do? It's pretty impressive. So we are very confident with the lineup of companies that we like. Do we have to sit on them for a while? Sure. But we love it. And this is the kind of stuff that can get even your kid who could be a total out there, a Greta Thunberg fan, go, listen, son or daughter, this is what we're doing. We're putting our money towards sequestering carbon into cement to revolutionize how we're building things. That's got to put a smile even on their face.
This is how we'll stop stealing your future and your dreams.
Yes. Yeah. So there's lots of good news there. And I mean, we're kind of playing a bit because I don't think I need to say it. A lot of the climate narrative is nonsense. But obviously, it's important enough that we're putting money and we're focused on a lot of these companies that are working to better work with the environment, to work in tangent with it, and to solve some problems. And it's that middle ground in between a lot of these extreme narratives that we would rather people kind of get back to. At the end of the day, it all ties back, especially to free and open markets. That's what drives things. Not paying higher taxes, not having some government body that says, oh, we'll do it for you in some way or form. That never works. And that's what we like to see. We like to see markets. And more than that, we want to see retail people get in because these are huge possibilities. And they're ones that are near and dear to our heart. They're valuable. They're valuable. They're value-based with a lot of upside growth.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you know what? I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. I will, you know what? I'll grab your quick thoughts on this. Last night, U.S. elections, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. Wasn't quite the red wave people had it chopped up to be. What are your thoughts on that? Any interesting takeaways or kind of just it is what it is?
I try to, we have to be careful with some of this stuff. I'm surprised that it wasn't more of a red wave. I'm not surprised that a lot of these Democratic cities are like, we're going to still need 3 or 4 days to count. I mean, how is it that a third world country can have an election and count on the same night? Yet a lot of these big Democratic cities need, 4 extra days. Why is it that their early ballots take longer than the night of ballots to count? It's not a good look. It's not a good look. No. Nothing looks good. Nothing looks good. But you know what? There's a lot of research that shows when you do have like a mixed government, like it's not a landslide, that can actually be good for the markets. And maybe that also kind of steers things towards the middle and these extremes get pushed out. That's what we really need. If Democrats acted like traditional Democrats, that would be nice. The faster you can stamp out this woke stuff, the better. So that's, I mean, that's not, we're not quiet about that. We're very vocal about that. But that, once again, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't want, healthcare, and you shouldn't want, to be, looking at green solutions and all that.
Yeah.
That's what we
Support
do.
education. Yeah.
But,
all those sort of things.
Yeah. But the narrative they go about it is absolutely incorrect. And, so there has to be a middle ground between all of this stuff. And maybe that's what some good might come out of it.
Yeah, and on that point, I'll point people, and I can't believe I'm about to tell people to go read the New York Times, but there's a New York Times article called "Why Wall Street Loves Gridlock in Washington." It's a good read. It kind of breaks down, why kind of a divided House, at least as far as Congress and the presidency goes, is actually good for the overall economy in the U.S. So it could be some positive signs there. I mean, obviously, still some stuff to finish up with some of the races on how exactly the House and Senate will be divided. But an interesting one for any poli-sci nerds like me to dive into and figure out why couldn't the Republicans capitalize on a situation that was very, very good for them going into this. So yeah, really interesting. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I'm happy to share them in private with people. I think it's very strange, to say the least. But I find it, with all the facts we know, which is what happened in the last 2 years, that anyone buys any of the nonsense, and all the people they fired, even from CNN, that have been divisive, that have been racist, that have been completely pushing out misinformation, have asked for amnesty for the COVID stuff. I mean, there's still people holding on to a lot of this narrative that is flat out wrong. There's still people thinking that the Russiagate thing is real, even though that's been completely. So
oh, yeah.
It's tough. The brainwashing and the propaganda has been going on for a long time. It's not good, but we'll just have to wait and see over time what happens. And also, not to be, and we talked about briefly, but there was a big fault there with the Republicans too, with pushing the abortion issue so far.
Yeah. I think that did a lot of damage to them, more so than they ever would have thought it could have.
I mean, that's we won't even get into it, but that was, I think, 100% a mistake, because once again, whether you like it, dislike it, your opinion on it, if you completely remove someone to be able to make a decision for themselves, that's never a good look. I can understand if someone says, this is what it is, and maybe you're not allowed to promote it, or let's be honest about it. But once you start telling people they can't do stuff, it's tough. It's tough. So let's leave it at that, because we don't like to get too much down into the actual political, social items. But I would say that one right there, that was a tough one for people, even if they were thinking of maybe switching over to get behind.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the abortion issue will be number one, and then candidate quality. And a lot of Republicans that got the nod simply because they had Trump's blessing to be there. It didn't work out for some of them. So
no.
That's,
and listen, hey, I
like
Carrie Lake. I really do.
She's.
I love Carrie, but I mean, I'm not a huge Dr. Oz fan. Not that he was a Trump one. And I'm certainly not a huge Herschel Walker fan. Not to be picking on poor Herschel.
He was a great football player, but
you look at the other side, and there's a lot there. But I mean, John Fetterman, he won. I mean, is that what you really want? Is that what you're looking for, right now? Anyways, let's leave it at that.
I know,
but we've picked on both sides enough, I think. So
we've teased everyone. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts, because I know we both enjoy following that and seeing what's going on. So
anyways, for sure.
As always, like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to be on Friday because it is Remembrance Day up here in Canada. I will say, for my little plug about that is, everyone make sure you take a little bit of time to remember the absolute horrific World War I, World War II, and all wars that we commemorate over that. But I'm a big anti-war guy, and this is a good time to remember the absolute
100%.
mess that has been created by governments and dragging the common people into conflicts that they don't want to be in. So
and that they don't have
we'll
to
be
fight.
Back next week to be happier than that. But
perfect. No, that's a good nod, and that's so important. So everyone, all the best on Remembrance Day. Give it a big remembrance, and especially for today, as we're in this chaos in the world, is that it's no one wants war. It's not a good thing. So let's give love a chance. All the best, Austin. Take care.